Hey there, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Misty, and I thought it would be kind of fun to play around with collaging today and just make a really cute collage piece. Let's get started. Alrighty, so the first thing I'm going to do is on this front side here where all these phrases and things are, I'm going to cut out, not even cut out, I'm going to just tear out a couple of the phrases that I really like. If you want to cut them, you can cut them. I like tearing them out because it gives them kind of cool little edging, which I love working with. So I'm not big on square patterns when I do stuff like this. And remember, you can always tear more around them later. You don't have to make them exactly perfect the way you're going to use them right now. Just tear them out. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it over on this side, and I'm going to start tearing pieces off as well. And I'm going to kind of play with them and see kind of where I want them to lay. Now the key to this is to remember that if you tear certain directions, you're going to get white space. So if you tear down, it will make your top one have white space. If you tear up, it'll put that white space on the back of your paper. So just remember that when you're messing with stuff. And I don't want any of my pieces to be the same. They're all going to be different. That's kind of why I tear them, to give them all a little bit different look and feel to them. And I'm going to go ahead and just keep tearing until I'm happy with my first background layer. Okay, so now I have several pieces torn out, and this is just my bottom layer. I've also created a couple pieces that are going to lay underneath of other pieces. That way it kind of gives it a little bit more of a dimensional look as well. And you don't have to keep these pieces where you laid them. You can move them around as you go and glue stuff on. You can tear them. You can do anything you want with them. You just kind of want to play with, you know, the foundation and how you actually like it to look. So go ahead and rearrange them any way you want. And then once you've got them arranged, you're just going to take your paintbrush with some Mod Podge, or you could use a gel medium as well. Either one of them will work. And you're just going to put a very light layer underneath these pieces where you've arranged them. And it's a good idea when you're doing this to use a brayer so you can actually get all of the liquid out from underneath of it. You don't want any bubbles. You want it to be nice and flat. Or you can also just press it down really, really good and make sure you get everything out. You can use one of those, you know, like a hard credit card or something like that to scrape it along there as well. Something like that would work. I'm just going to go ahead and keep on gluing all these down. Now that I have my bottom layer glued down where I want everything, I'm going to go in and add some acrylic to it. So this is just a regular basic acrylic. And this is kind of in a color palette that actually matches what I currently have on the page. You can also do a color that's totally different. Something that matches but isn't the same color perhaps. Something that kind of looks like it would go together with it. You know, like if you have red, you could do a green, or if you have a green, you could do a purple. You know, it's up to you how you want it to actually look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here, and I'm just going to color in some of those white spots. And as you can see, I'm also going over the top of some of these papers. I don't want them to be stark edges. I want them to kind of match like they should be in here as one cohesive piece. I'm just going to go ahead and keep on painting. Now I'm going to go in and add a second color. This also matches my color palette. It's just a little bit different color. And the thing that I love about this particular technique is that actually these acrylics are so light that they actually give you a very translucent feel to them. So you can see everything that's underneath of them, which is great, which is why I love using them to create layers. Because when you're layering, you don't really want to get rid of a lot of this stuff in the background. I mean, most of the time you don't. Sometimes you do. But, you know, you want to create those layers that you can see through sometimes. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm just creating layers with my acrylic. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on painting here. Now that I've got the background complete, I'm just adding some visual interest to this layer with this stamp. It's got some writing on it and a stays on ink pad. The stays on is important because you don't want your ink to bleed when you put more acrylics or water-based anything over the top of it. You want it to stay put and not look smudgy. So I'm just stamping through here in some random patterns. I'm not even using a block because I don't want the whole thing to come out. I want it to be kind of splotchy. So that's what I'm doing. You can also turn your stamp so that your words go in different directions if you want to. My OCD doesn't like that, so I'm going to keep them in one direction, but you can also add visual interest by changing them in different directions. The next thing that I want to do is add some more texture and visual interest, but I also want to lighten it up. The original pieces had a lot of white in there, but they got covered up by that bottom layer. So I'm just going to take some gesso. This is just white gesso. And I'm just going to use an old business card, and I'm just going to kind of dip it in there a little tiny bit. And then I'm going to go across the page and just kind of streak it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can go in both directions. This is just creating another layer. And you just keep doing this until you like the results and you're happy with where you are. The great thing about this is it also pushes all those layers kind of into the back. Once you use a little white on top of them, it pushes everything into a backwards layer, which is kind of cool. All right. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to take those phrases and things that I cut out the first time, and I'm just going to kind of position them where I think I want them to be, kind of like you did with the first layer. It's just creating another layer in there. Okay. And then I'm just going to layer them down with some Mod Podge. So I'm just going to glue it. Just like you did the first time. I'm going to keep on gluing. So you may have noticed in this last layer that I did, I actually kept a lot of that white edging because it actually makes it blend together. It pulls out a lot of that white from those background areas. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I just have a cling stamp with some flowers on it. Since I do have some flowers in here on this last layer, I'm going to go and create some more in the background just to add a little more tie-in. Again, I'm using the Stays On ink. This one here is in a blue because I don't want them to stand out a ton. I want them kind of in the background. That's why I'm using the blue. And as you can see, I'm using a block as well because I want them to be mostly formed. So you can just barely see them back here in the back. Right back here. It just causes it to be a little more overall cohesive. It also helps to create another layer. You're pushing some of those other words and things backwards a little tiny bit. So now I've got several different flowers going on throughout here. So for the last step, what I went ahead and did is I added a couple of little tiny black butterfly stamps here because I want this black writing to kind of come through and be a little more coordinated. So I added a couple of those in there, and my focal point is going to be a great big butterfly right here. This phrase is about nature, so I love butterflies, and I thought it was really appropriate to go with this phrase, which is the one that I want to stand out the most. As you can tell, this one here is bright, bold yellow. These other ones are kind of backwards in the background because they're a lot lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and just hand paint a butterfly, and I'm just using black acrylic. If you want, you could also, you know, use a stamp and do this as well. I'm just going to go ahead and hand paint it because I don't have a stamp that's as big as I really want it to be. And for this, you could use butterflies, flowers, whatever is going to go with your piece. You could also take a piece of, you know, say a magazine or a person's face or anything else and incorporate it in there as well, whatever you would like to put on there. So I'm going to go ahead and keep painting. And there you have it, the finished collage piece. I decided that I didn't really like the white over here. It wasn't really doing a whole lot for me. So I took a gold metallic pen and I actually wrote over the top of that phrase. And then I went back and highlighted my little butterfly accents. And then I added a ton of texture and pattern in my main focal point. It kind of just gave it a really nice, I'm finished, you know, beautiful look to it. The white just really wasn't doing it for me. So I hope you enjoyed the collage lesson today. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.